Oh, yeah. He's back. Me. Good to see you fine, folks. And Cliff is going to be here, Tony Phillips. Can you hear me? Can you all hear me? I is here. Hello? Still hearing me? Hello, hello? Hey, I'm live, and I think you can hear me. It told me that the mic was unplugged like a few seconds before I came on. Apparently it wasn't. Liars. It's the deep state, man. The deep state that Marjorie Taylor Greene was attacking when she was actually really attacking, Donald Trump. That is our hilarious main story because she basically went on this tirade against Mr. Trump and pretended that she was doing it for Donald Trump. And it's so obvious why she's doing it, which we're going to get into as the show goes on because, well, she's what we call a Neanderthalic, if that's a word, soul, not what we call very bright, has trouble spelling basic words, right? Effect, affect, that kind of thing. Marshall. She's that, but and I'm sorry if this offends anybody because I think a nice Southern accent is beautiful, but a trashy Southern accent is just about the most painful, screechy thing on the ears. And that accent of hers is just, I don't know how anybody listens to that long term, but I digress. Welcome to the Queen City. Welcome from the Queen City, right? Radio City, Cincinnati. This is not my usual gig anymore, my sometimes gig. Matt Robeson has stepped in for me and probably even done a better job, would be my guess. He's been great. I've watched some of those when I can, but Matt couldn't make it today. So I thought we'll do another one of those weeks I used to do because I told you all I had to get moving forward in the Substack. And welcome to the Substack, folks. We should be broadcasting there. And it was, it's been amazing. We've been able to really, our growth has been ample to where we're, way over 500,000 subscribers there. We've got some things we're doing to help other independent creators, independent media. More on that in the future. A lot more on that. And it's taken a lot of time. Not all of us are Polakian Ozarkians and can work, 27 hours in a 24-hour day like Tony. Some of us are just simple Jews who try to do our best and add up the numbers, maybe become a doctor, build a nice laser or two to take out your enemies, and that's a day, But I have to let Tony in if I'm going to make fun of him and myself.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, look at him in his new freaking studio, guys. I couldn't construct a new studio if you gave me the new studio, and it was already constructed. I still couldn't put it together. That's why, I'm literally going to pay to import Tony here. I don't care what it takes. The Missouri man is.
Are you going to pay the tariff? Are you going to pay the tariff?
I'm going to pay the. I think if you cross the border, there's now a tariff. Trump says it's good for business, and it somehow hurts China, I believe.
Listen, it's going to make us rich. It's going to make
only
us
take $2 with you. As long as there's just $2, you'll be okay.
We'll be rich. 475
pencils too. Motherfucker. Oh no, did I just demonetize? I don't care. F you, YouTube. So, I won't try to on purpose, but the beauty of Substack being added to the allotment, if you will, of places we broadcast to is I don't have to worry about one place anymore.
Sure.
Hey, I never talked to you about this, Tony, and maybe you said something, but being that we like to discuss the monopoly state, a great term you came up with.
Sure.
And all of that. Did you see where the court came down with a ruling a number of weeks ago that Google is a monopoly? Because, and get this, guess why? Because they require everyone to use AdSense. I'm not kidding you.
Nuh-uh.
Yes.
Are you serious?
Dead serious. I mean, again, I would have made a bigger deal of it, except for the fact it was like some lower court.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I don't believe it. There's no way Google will ever lose, so it doesn't matter. But I mean, it does matter. Actually, I'm actually going against everything that I ever say. So that was stupid of me. It does matter because speaking out matters. Court decisions, legislation offered, the performance of politics actually and law matters because it sends a message to people.
So it looks like it was in the EU General Court.
Is that where it was? So it wasn't even in the United States, of course.
They levied 1.49 billion euros against Google related to AdSense for search services, finding that the European Commission hadn't adequately proven that Google's contractual clauses had a foreclosure effect.
I can adequately prove it. My friend Tony has been demonetized, and they make me use Google AdSense, but take 2 out of every 3 cents from every ad I produce. Thereby, if that is not something along the lines of, I mean, again, I'm not pretty much saying I'm in the same situation, but if that's not along the lines of everything we've ever said about how labor is treated by monopolies, I'm not sure what is.
So it says the case centered on whether Google's agreements with website publishers, which would be us because we are publishers on YouTube,
publish stuff, yes,
to display ads on their sites were anti-competitive, which they are. You can't compete with ads on YouTube because you can only place them with Google AdSense directly.
Correct. Right, and if you do anything else, it has to be like a live read or something that you do ahead of a show. But if it's ads in the show, it's their ads, and they're getting. It doesn't matter as far as my understanding. Even if you get outside ads and bring them, they'll still take 2/3, and they stitch them in there. So it doesn't matter. Like they are monopoly. In the most basic sense of monopoly is. Do you have a company that has such vast power and control that you can make people use other of your products that are not directly related? I'm putting this in layman's terms and obviously not legal terms. Can you do that? Can you force people up or down the food chain to use your products? And of course they can.
So here's how they do it. Let me give the audience a sense.
And let me say something quickly. Though first, I apologize. The ruling came up, and a million things do in life. I got Googled by Cannibal Tech, which is a good group that follows tech and whatever. And so they sent me an email to let me, or email or text to let me know what happened. And I meant to tell Tony, but I think it was when I was visiting my mom in Florida or something like that. And so I forgot. And I should have looked up the context more to see that it was.
Well, I'm glad we're talking about it today. So
what I should have looked up, it was the EU. So I'm glad you corrected my misinformation, or I made a mistake there. I should have known that the fact that it's gotten no press here beyond that meant it wasn't even in the United States.
It gives good insight to how Google does this. So how they do it is you have a YouTube channel like I do and you do. Mine's very close to 200,000. And what they
He's bigger than I am.
Well,
not in the right places, of course.
Yeah, well, that's how it goes. But here's the thing is that YouTube is owned by Google. And Google owns Google AdSense, and they operate them as 2 different entities. So what they do is they say, YouTube says, well, you have to go get an AdSense account. And then AdSense says, well, you have to follow YouTube's rules. And then when something happens where they want to demonetize you, which what they caught me on was what's called invalid traffic, but they won't tell me what the invalid traffic is. What they say is I have to tell them what the invalid traffic is, but I have no idea what the hell they're talking about. And what they do
and the thing about that is I can tell you very simply, like Starlene's little I missed it. Naughty Cliffy. That's me. That's my new nickname, Naughty Cliffy. But what the point, Tony's trying to, that's really important here is they can literally, they make you follow rules, this and that, but they also, they can force you to use their ads and everything else. And then when they demonetize you, they do not have to give you a reason. And you can't say, okay, well then fine. Screw you. I'm going to go to another advertiser because you guys have said that you won't let me advertise for you. So I'm going to go through. No, you can't do that. So Tony's completely screwed.
Right. So here's what I do. I contact YouTube and I say, hey, I need to fix this problem. And YouTube says, oh, it's not our problem. It's Google AdSense problem. That's a whole other entity outside of Google.
Not accurate. YouTube doesn't answer you the first 5 times.
Right.
And then like the 17th time, maybe they send you a road.
So on the 17th time, that's what they say. So I go to Google AdSense and I tell Google AdSense this, and Google AdSense says, well, you can't talk to us. You have to file a an appeal. And when you file the appeal, we'll let you know what your result of your appeal is. And they say, well, YouTube has said that you broke their terms of service, so that's why we're not letting you have an AdSense account. And you're like, no, I talked to YouTube. They're fine. They say it's your problem. And it's just, that's how they get you caught in this trap. That's how they blacklist you. That's how they blacklisted me. And I don't know if there is someone who has internal communications with someone who has told them to blacklist me. I don't know if something I said or something.
Well, see, that's the worst part too, is that with monopolies, you get lack of transparency.
Right.
And because they don't have to explain anything to you because they're so powerful. And again, this is why I feel like I have to say this at the beginning of every one of these things, okay? The United States was far from a perfect country from the 30s to the 80s, all right? Discrimination based on race, it was legal for much of that time, gender, all these things. So I'm not claiming like we were just some, perfect, or as Reagan would have said, shining city on a hill. We were headed in that direction until Reagan came in, though. We were improving steadily. And one of the places where we actually were far better than today was in our regulations as they pertain to wealthy people, as in, hey, jackass, we're taking 70% of your, or 91% under Eisenhower, a Republican, of the money you make. But also, we broke up monopolies like it was our frickin' job, which it was. I mean, they would never have been allowed to do this back then, because when somebody did this kind of thing, they were torn in half. And that's how our economy produced the strongest middle class and the most gross domestic product in the history of the fucking world. Go ahead.
Really, honestly, if the regulators were able to actually use the Federal Trade Commission in the way that it's supposed to be used, which is to bust up trust, and do those things to protect not only the small guy, but also the consumer, because what they're doing is that they're making it less likely that I will be able to provide my product to the consumers. So in other words, I'm not able to compete on the same level as someone else. And the only reason why is because I've been stripped of tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I see Cynthia says that I should sue YouTube. That's the other problem, is YouTube has made it to where I have less money. So I am less able to sue them because I don't have the funds to afford an attorney. So I mean,
well, Tony would need to find somebody who felt like the case,
right,
they could make the case big enough that it'd be worth it for them in public relations dollars, and and getting the attention that they would get, which lawyers do sometimes. But my sense of everything is, even though the Biden administration, it's one of the things they're not given enough credit for, stepped up in a big way on antitrust enforcement. We all know who we have in office right now. So even if that lawsuit were to happen here, you would see the Trump administration defend Google, and then of course go to Google and say how much money you're going to give us, and find a way to turn it into bribery. But the point is that he would not have allies as he would have during the Biden administration. And the truth of the matter is, even if there had been allies of his during the Biden administration from the Justice Department fighting it, they broke up a lot of monopolies. But like the big 5, 6, 7, whatever you want to call them, the really big ones are so hard to take on because they print money. We let Meta and Google and some of these folks get that big, a couple of the banks and whatever, where they just, it's so hard to take them on because of the kind of money they can. And so I don't think a lawyer is going to go and be like, I'll do this, on spec right now, right? I'll do this and make money later, when we win some huge case that shocks the world, because they know the chances that it ever even gets past the initial courts are like zero. And they know that this Supreme Court is a fully owned corporate entity. I would say they're part of a larger monopoly themselves. They're not gonna let Tony's case get. So that's the problem. Is what we're dealing with right now, that people are devoted to this because we're corrupt, and those very people make lots of money off of keeping the Googles and the Metas and the Apples and the whoever the F else, not Walmarts and the whatever happy.
Yeah, keep them in good standing with their monopolies to keep putting the boot on the necks of people like me, because I know it's not just me. I know there's probably hundreds of.
Yeah, it's just you.
I've been out there, but I mean, I probably have one of the largest political channels, I would say, that is not monetized, I would imagine. And
you may have the largest. I mean, you certainly have the largest political channel I know of that's not monetized.
Right.
It doesn't mean I know every one of them, but I know a lot of them. I mean, and again, the ones I don't know.
It's not monetized because of like I've decided not to monetize it. It is monetized because they have blacklisted me for whatever reason. There's a reason why they will not let me monetize. I don't know that reason. They will not tell me that reason. I have tried to communicate with them. I've tried to appeal to them, and they reject me at every time that I've tried. And
I would say to all of you, what you could do here is you could go and become a paid member of Tony's Substack. And I'm not just saying that like as that kind of a promotion, but like what I know from even now doing this in a week like this week, 3 days of the week, where I'll have the Substack one on Thursday. I've got this today and another one tomorrow. And yeah, I do some stuff I don't know if Tony does as much of, which is some of those medium-sized videos, but I don't do it. Tony basically between Substack and YouTube, I don't think everybody gets what it is to do a 2-hour show 5 days a week. Like, I mean, what he does, granted, I'm old and weak, but like, I don't know that I could wake up every week and know, because it's a lot of work. Like, I love doing this once I'm here. There's nothing I would rather be doing at the moment. Like, I love talking to all of you. I love talking to Tony. It's a pleasure. It's the getting here. it's everything it takes to get here and know what I'm going to talk about, have coherent things to say, make sure somehow this mic isn't fucked up as it used to be all the time. The lighting is going okay. The amount of time it takes away from doing certain other things that I need to do. I mean, I really can't tell you, like, I'm in awe sometimes of how hard Tony works. And I'm not just saying that. I don't know that I know anybody that works any harder than him. And so you really, you want to support independent media. You want to support people that fight back against fascism. Support Tony, because you lose Tony, you lose the kind of guy that is put everything on the line for this. I mean, I can't even imagine also that he's doing all of this while not knowing every single day when he does it, he's not going to make 1 cent from YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, and it has been difficult in that sense, but I think more than anything that has motivated me too, because I get a little more motivated when someone says you can't do something. When they say it's impossible, you can't do it, you can't make it happen, you can't make it work. So YouTube, if you're listening, the one reason why I'm probably
Hillary's emails. It sounded kind of like that. YouTube, if you're listening,
right? YouTube, if you're listening,
find the 3,000 emails and you'll be greatly rewarded.
Right. Here's the thing: is that you have probably put more resolve for me to be. So if your idea is to blacklist me and get me off YouTube, you had probably made it more likely that I will remain on YouTube for as long as humanly possible. So. Good luck to you.
I think you should just come on here and make fart noises or something, or whatever you can do to really annoy them.
Yeah.
And look, let's be honest. Again, I've talked about this before. I made this argument to folks. So Kaufman Chronicles is where you can find Tony on Substack. And I don't remember. Is it just? It's of course it is at the Tony Michaels. It has to.
Yeah,
because he's smart enough to brand himself.
And you can go to theTonyMichaels.com and find everything there.
Right. And I would ask you to do the same for me, because, here I am. And even though I can't work quite as hard as Tony because I'm weaker, I do my best. And I am, just it's still at Cliff's Edge over there, but you can find it under Blue Amp. It's in a number of places. And subscribing in general is huge. Paid subscribers, they make it so we can do this. So thank you. Where's Jim putting up stuff for Tony? Let's get that out there.
And you get a lot of good stuff when you subscribe to the Kaufman Chronicle, because you're going to get breaking news. You're going to get news articles that the corporate media is either unwilling or not able to cover because they'll be squashed by the Trump administration. So independent media is
or not necessarily because they'll be squashed, because they're a bunch of fucking wimps. I'm not going to let them off that easily. Oh, they'll be squashed. I mean, they won't do it because because Bezos is more busy, or busier trying to go from looking like America's biggest nerd to a James Bond villain in his new look, and has gotten himself someone, who literally I think only has like one original hip and maybe one original pinky, and everything else on her body has been purchased, and decided that that was the direction he wanted to take being a billionaire in. Not the direction of Warren Buffett, who just announced his retirement yesterday. And I can't.
Did he really?
Yes. And
how old is Warren Buffett? He's going to be in his 90s, right?
I mean, he's up around there. And I once did a huge women's equality abortion rights project. They weren't like sort of very outward about that. I think it's out there now. It doesn't matter, but they didn't talk a lot about that because they're based in Omaha, Nebraska, where Buffett's from, and I don't think they want everybody picketing them. But yeah, they gave me some funding to go and block at the time, and we were successful in blocking this just abhorrent. They were trying to pass this anti-abortion law here in Ohio, and I'm not even kidding you. Like, this is like 2014, 15. This is all serious, what I'm about to say, because what I'm about to say, you're going to be like, I didn't just hear that, but you did. They had a fetus testify. This is what our Republican gerrymandered group of fucknuts did. They literally put a microphone up, and apparently, I don't know if the woman had gas, and that was the fetus. I don't really know. But yes, they invited a fetus to testify. And they're just, and so they were trying to pass this crazy law, and we actually peeled off some Republicans, and we did a lot of that with a lot of creative. I don't need to get into all that, but the Buffett Foundation, I've raised money from a few other places, but the Buffett Foundation was the key part of that, because sadly his wife passed away, Susan Thompson Buffett, from breast cancer. And so he has a bunch of foundations. This was the Susan Thompson Buffett Foundation, and they solely gave out grants based on women's health. And I've talked about it before. Gun safety is probably the issue I got most known for and fought on the most, but abortion is probably pretty close after that. As an issue that I've done. I was on the board in Ohio of Planned Parenthood, and I did work with, which Trump has just said is targeting with this budget and all of that, of course, and did work with NARAL, helped do research for the former president, Elise Hogue, who's a friend, her book, former president of NARAL, for about 8 years, helped put together a big thing there. And, I'm passionate about that work. And so Warren Buffett's awesome. So in any case,
well, he's 94. Actually, I just looked.
There you go. So he's an awesome billionaire.
How do you retire? I want to know, like, how do you retire from being rich? Like, how do you retire from that? I'm not really sure what that means.
Well, I guess and when you're like him, and he's known for the fact that he lives in like what would probably be I don't know. I don't want to guess a price, but it would be a house that
he lives.
You or I might be able to afford. When they owned Dairy Queen, he would go there for dinner. Like, he's known for the fact that he's not some elitist fake.
He drives himself to his office and shit, doesn't he?
Right. So I think that's it. Is like I'm not saying, I don't know if he's been quote unquote working, hard this whole time, but I think he's been going in the office some days and whatever. And now also he's had the position, right? CEO, and now he's officially turning it over to somebody else.
So he's not going to stop being. He's not going to retire from being rich, because that's
I think that would.
That's what I've always seen Warren Buffett's job is. His job is just to be rich. Like,
no, you can only retire from being rich if you're, let's say, a complete dick saw like Donald Trump, who finds a way to lose $100 million? No, he lost nearly $1 billion in 1 year, which I think was an all-time IRS record for his write-off. You have to be that bad, or you have to be like Elon Musk and be like, hey, Tesla appeals to people who believe in science and tend to be on the liberal side of the spectrum. I think I'm going to spend all of my time directly attacking people who believe in science and are the liberal side of the spectrum, and I'm sure sales will go great. That's how you lose that kind of money.
Right.
In his case, there's no retiring, but he did sign that pledge or whatever it was that a bunch of them did a while back, where half of his money will go directly to all sorts of charitable, progressive, whatever kind of causes.
Bloomberg signed I got the answer for this. If you want to know, Warren Buffett's fortune will primarily be directed towards charitable trust, which will be managed by his 3 children, Susie, Howard, and Peter Buffett. This trust will contain over 99% of his wealth, And I'm assuming this is his personal wealth, not his wealth at Berkshire Hathaway.
No, I mean, it maybe have been derived from there, but
Right.
it is.
The children will make unanimous decisions about how the funds are distributed. The trust focus will be on family values and long-term impact. And I want to say that Warren Buffett, what's funny about Warren Buffett being like the richest man in the world, which I actually consider him the richest man in the world. And the reason why is because the way that he looks.
He didn't use apartheid emerald money to.
Right. But the way that he looks at investing that's what makes him rich. Right. The idea that he leverages money and all this kind of stuff. I mean, yeah, obviously he's done well and he has a lot of money to leverage, but his view of investing is what makes him rich. So his most valuable asset is his way.
With Sylvan, I mean, here's the thing, and this is what I just try and hope, because there are times where we on the left become overzealous, and you have to give credit where credit is due. The man actually stood up and said, fought against the estate tax cut Republicans did, stood up and said, my tax rate should be higher, did all these kinds of things. You can say that, oh, he's a billionaire, nobody should be a billionaire, or whatever your belief is. Nobody should have 50 or 100 or whatever.
I don't think he believes he should have that much money.
He said that.
Right.
I mean, and that, so the thing is like, you can't just, I wrote a piece the other day and at Substack, and I was talking about Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, who I love, who is, while others while others who I, for a while, strongly believed in have vastly disappointed me, and some have not. Jasmine Crockett's been great, and Swalwell's been great, but he stepped forward and from the very moment in his first State of the State in Illinois, talked about how quickly Hitler consolidated power. And he just gave a speech recently. This is a guy who's a multi-billionaire. The Pritzker family did very well in hotels and could just keep his mouth shut. He'd be fine. He can get out of this country if something gets really bad. No problem. My guess is he probably has a couple of houses places, but he has spoken out consistently. And, he made sure to the other day, just talk about the attacks on the Constitution, the attacks on democracy and vulnerable people. And that, when Trump was trying to pretend to be like, oh, I'm with the Jewish people, Pritzker's Jewish. He's like, no, you're not. Because our culture is about defending the vulnerable. You don't understand when you attack immigrants, when and so I was talking about, hey, they're not, there are some good billionaires, whether you think they should be billionaires or not. And I mentioned Mark Cuban in there too. I should have mentioned Warren Buffett. Like, there are some people, and we need to all remember that. It's sort of how I go after corporate media for sucking, all the time. But I also do point out when there are some exceptions in there who are good. Like, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. Like, give credit where credit's due. You can still make a statement that you don't believe there should be billionaires. I don't. That you don't believe that most billionaires in this country absolutely positively suck, and that would be true. I can name a dozen off the top of my head if you want me to. So I think the vast majority of them do, but there's some good folks too, and it's important to not demonize them. The ones who are people that are inordinately wealthy because of family wealth or because of,
Well, and I think Warren Buffett comes from a little bit of money and power, but I mean, I think that's the point. Is like Warren Buffett doesn't believe in American nepotism. He doesn't believe in that. That's why he isn't giving all his monies to his children. He's giving it to a trust in which they control,
right,
to charitably give it away. Like,
so and he pledged half. I mean, they had the 50% pledge right away. When he passes, 50% goes out the door. I don't even think his kids have a say. I think that's already going to some organization that puts it in charitable causes. I said, I remember Bloomberg signed that one. I'm trying to remember who else did. There were others who did. But again, you can believe that our policies have become so skewed and so ridiculous that there are people putting multi-billions of dollars. I mean, I'd let people become billionaires. I should say that. I just would my rule would be when you hit $1 billion, you're at the 98% tax level or something like that. And if you can keep accruing a little bit after that, that's fine. But I'm taking almost everything after that.
But Cliff, how many dolls can you buy if you're not a billionaire? How many
pencils? I only have 250
pencils do you need if you're not a billionaire?
China. How many pencils do you need in China? I mean, it's, you know, when I heard that about Buffett, again, that wasn't going to be the main topic of today, but I still think it's a good of a couple of them is to look at him and his life and the good that he's done with the fortune that he built versus, you know, a Musk or a Trump or a Uline or a Koch or a, you know, go on and on and on. Mercer. I mean, that
Can I
entire
tell you something that's happening right now that kind of has to do with what we're talking about? Because you know, Donald Trump operates, because Warren Buffett doesn't operate in this this realm of everything's for sale and everything is to be rape and pillage, and I think that's Warren Buffett's, you know, his investment attitude. If you ever hear him
there you
talk
go. This is
about
what
it,
I was getting at, and keep talking, Tony. But
he doesn't see investing the same way that the rich and the elite kind of see it. And I want to tell you, Carney, the new prime minister of Canada, is meeting with Trump, or just met with him.
And just told him Canada is not for sale.
Yeah, here's the quote. Here's the quote. There are some places that are never for sale. Having met with the owners of Canada, which he's talking about the citizens of Canada, over the course of the campaign, it's not for sale. It won't be for sale ever. He told that to Trump right to his face. And again, I want
people. Did he thank Trump for helping elect him?
Yeah, right.
Maybe we should get the Australian prime minister over here too. A few other, the German, you know what? Like, and they all be like, "Hey, thanks, man. Big solid there on
right. Thanks for getting us. Thanks for hanging in there and making it to where the Canadian people decided that they didn't want someone that was even close to Donald Trump,
even could possibly slightly resemble.
Right. We want anyone in Canada to own as many dolls as they want. We're not going to be communist and dictate how many dolls they
take away your health care, but dolls you can.
Do you think that MAGA understands?
And you're dying of preventable disease, you can have dolls.
Do you think MAGA even just a smidge, like just a hint, understands what kind of ideology it is for a president of a country to tell you how many dolls you can and cannot own?
Do you think they can sit there? Honestly, do you think your average person in MAGA, not all of them, there's exceptions, but your average person in MAGA could sit there, look you in the face and say, what are the major political ideologies of the 20th and 21st century that have risen and fallen? Do you think they could name them to you? Do you think they could name one of them to you? They can't do that.
No,
they don't know. I mean, again, they're the ones who are screeching like, it's communist that you want to raise taxes. And I'm like, well, what is it when the fire station came to your fucking house?
That's communism. That's communism.
Yeah.
Clearly,
I mean, it's socialism more. But point being, I think
I know, but that's what they would say. That's what they would say, is that it's communism, but that's the good kind. They get.
I mean, if it is, good. Let's not have the fire. Let's mark off your houses, and the fire trucks will skip those homes. Good luck. I don't care, honestly. If you all burn, okay, I won't get myself completely banned from here, but make your own choices, guys. I believe in that. The way you all always scream and yell about choice, I would like you to have the right to that choice, to not pay for the fire or police department and then not have them show up. That would be good.
So apparently, also, here's a couple other quotes from this little meeting here, because I think it's funny. One of the questions from the reporters towards Trump was, is there anything Prime Minister Carney can say to you today to change your mind about tariffing Canada? And he says no. The question is, why not? Trump says it's the way it is. He's such a fucking idiot.
All the good parts of the economy are mine. All the bad parts are mine. I mean, again, I've said this already. If one of my children had said that in the 4th grade, I would have chastised them. God, he's dumb. Listen,
it's unbelievable.
Let's talk a little bit. I want to get to the main.
I got a few more minutes left.
I want to get to the main course here, which sounds kind of gross. You're talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene, but first, I want to make an important point, because this really pisses me off, and you can all tell me what you think about this. So it was announced that Mike Pence would be getting the Profile and Courage, the JFK Profile and Courage Award. I love those folks. I love that they give that. just doing your job and not overthrowing a democracy is not a profile in courage.
Right.
Standing up and fighting in the manner in which, and I'm not even if you did it too late and too wimpily, like Mitt Romney. I know they gave it to Mitt Romney too. There's a little more of a basis, because at least that first time when no other Republican would vote for impeachment, he did. But of course, he still couldn't bring himself to say he'd vote for Joe Biden or Kamala Harris over Trump, because this guy's a real threat, but I can't say I'll vote for the Democrat. I mean, there are very few Republicans I can think of. Liz Cheney, you could say, at least fought the fight and went and said she would vote for Democrat. I think her past makes giving her that award a little bit dicey. Her role in Iraq, which is part of what got us here. I would think more of somebody who came out early and fought against him often, which again, we're going back to 2016, 2017, some of the ones that stood up against him initially, whoever they were. I know they existed, a few of them, before they ended up being pretty much kicked out. Like, maybe find one of them to give a profile and courage award to. But I'm sorry, when you just were like, well, yeah, I'm going to accept the electoral votes and certify the election. That's your fucking job. That's not a profile in courage. Profile in courage would have been if you came out right after that and said, I'm resigning the position of the vice president immediately, even though I only have it for 2 more weeks. I will actively work with any Democrat to fight against Donald Trump, not because I believe in what Democrats do, but because Donald Trump is a threat to the Republic and proved it the other day. That would be a profile in courage. And that would be where I'd say, okay, but no, not just doing your goddamn job. And that pisses me off, because I think they're cheapening what that award means.
I agree with you. And I will also say with Mike Pence, and I've been trying to convey this message to my audience, is that the question of constitutional crisis, we should shift to the tariffs, because in Article 1, Section 8, it is clear that it is congressional power in the House of Representatives.
Correct.
That has the power to tax the American people. And we're about to experience this tax. We haven't really experienced it yet, or the ramifications of it, I should say. So soon the American people will realize they're being taxed. But I'll say this, that Mike Pence...
And some are starting to already. I mean, it's happening in some places.
Right.
But he's lying flat out. But I took a picture the other day. I forgot to put it up, of the, over $3 gas here. When it was like low $2 or whatever it was, when 2.5 when Biden was in office. I mean, again, I hate even having to do that anyhow, because I'm not a big fan of oil and gas or whatever. But if we're making just a basic point, and it is something that a lot of Americans, it's important to them, gas prices, and he's just lying. Like, he is about eggs, 87%. Like, he pulled that out of the same place that his diaper has to protect.
But here's what I'll say about Mike Pence and this idea about tariffs. And Trump attacked Karl Rove the other day because he's like, Karl Rove is an idiot. And of course, he didn't have any substantive attack of Karl Rove. But Mike Pence,
I can give you reasons why Karl Rove is an idiot.
Yeah, I mean, I can give you a lot of reasons.
He didn't come up with any of them.
Right. I can give you a lot of reasons why Karl Rove is an asshole. But and Mike Pence as well. But Mike Pence and Karl Rove are kind of on the same page here. And I believe that if Republicans are showing us the way to attack Trump, especially Republicans like Karl Rove are showing us how to attack Trump, which the way that you attack Trump on the constitutional question is through Article 1, Section 8, where he is unconstitutionally taxing Americans through tariffs, using emergency powers, not the constitutional crisis of the Fifth Amendment. I believe
there is no, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I wish they'd define that better, but like, there is no crisis for which this guy could demand emergency powers for the tariffs in the way he did. Okay. He's using wartime powers to make these demands and do things that are clearly unconstitutional, which tells you that we didn't lay out clearly enough what we were talking about.
Right. Well, and I guess my point is that I think we should shift as the left to only talking about the constitutional crisis in the form and fashion of Article 1, Section 8. That's the drum we should pound. It is pretty clear that Donald Trump, Stephen Miller, Pam Bondi, Tom Homan, and the rest of them believe that they're going to win the constitutional question in the court of public opinion on immigration. And I'm here to tell you, I think they're correct. I do believe that that there's a lot of Americans out there, at least enough of them, that believe that, quote, illegal alien criminals, as the Trump administration defines them, do not deserve due process. And we are not going to win that fight in public opinion. I just don't think we're going to turn that around.
I'll say quickly, I've got, as often, because I used to say on my old show, and harder to win people over this way, but nuance and context are important in every argument. It's easier just to say it's this way or that way. I would, so I'm going to bring some nuance to this. I do think we can win that argument. That Chuck Grassley town hall told me we can win that argument when you've got all sorts of older white folks who are yelling about due process. And now that the House Judiciary Committee, Republicans all voted to deport U.S. citizens, it won't go through, I don't think, all of Congress and, all that. And it would be filibustered in the Senate even if they had passed the House. But I do think we can win that argument. But where I will agree with Tony is I will say that it is a much stronger argument around tariffs, simply because I think it's more of a win it 55-45 or something, on immigration, whereas it's a blowout on tariffs because that is actually screwing these folks who.
That's right. So the same people who were at the Chuck Grassley town hall with Trump hats on, or that are presumably MAGA or MAGA adjacent, if they are questioning the constitutional question of the Fifth Amendment and due process, they absolutely will question the constitutional question of Article 1, Section 8, and it will piss them off just as much or more. And that's why I say Democrats and the left and the media need to only focus on one constitutional crisis question, and only one at this moment in time, and that is Article 1, Section 8. They need to, every single politician they get in front of, I don't even give a shit if it's a state politician or a local politician.
Of course.
They should be asking, they should be saying, how are you pressuring the federal elected politicians as a state elected politician to protect your constituents, because they clearly are not doing it.
With messaging, the whole point is that the whole point of it all is quite simply, you have to, and I've said this again and again, my saying has been every fucking day, is you have to be doing it all the time. And so if the state rep is all you have access to, you need to be talking to them about it. You never know when someone may overhear you and take it somewhere else. The butterfly effect. You never know when a camera will be there and pick it up. And these days, it'll go viral because people will have their phones out. Like, again, none of them. If no Republican deserves a moment of rest when they're in public. You should be questioning them constantly. You should be making them make statements against their stupid party. You should be obviously doing everything. I mean, classic example for any of you, by the way, there are probably other places too, so look it up. But today is our primary day for our mayor here in Cincinnati and some other things. And getting out and voting is an important thing too. People often forget during it's just a mayoral primary. Well, this one maybe people will remember more because J.D. Vance's half brother, that jackass, is in the race, trying to win in the city of Cincinnati, which is a very uphill climb. But if they could split the Democratic vote, I don't think they will. But everybody who may be listening and votes in Cincinnati, get out there and make sure you vote. In any other city, or know when you need to vote, because that's important too.
And all these votes matter, and all the communication with who represents you matter, because that's the other sticking point of the idea of the constitutional crisis under Article 1, Section 8, because there's a famous saying, and I don't know if people are familiar with this, but it's taxation without representation is tyranny. Taxation without representation is tyranny. And I believe even people who
we tossed some tea overboard for that.
Right. Well, but I believe that people who have even tattooed 1776 on themselves because they think they're some sort of patriot because they love Trump and make America great again. I think those words, taxation without representation, in the coming months is going to mean more to them than getting rid of people with genitalia they don't like. By the way, it's breaking news. The Supreme Court has decided, and I think it's a 5-4 decision, I believe, to allow Trump administration's transgender military ban to take effect. Now, This is
Of
gonna,
course,
this is
again,
gonna
and
suck
I
up
just
a
want to point
lot.
out it's
Yeah,
always a
but
5-4 decision is the only thing I want to
right,
point out.
and it's gonna suck up a lot of the oxygen in the room. Do not let it suck up oxygen. Do not stay focused on where we can stay focused on, because folks, if you want this ban to go away, what we have to do is defeat the fascist. And to defeat the fascist, sometimes we have to fight the battle that we don't want to fight before the battle we want to fight.
And fight the battles we can win, and ones
Right.
that are very important too. I mean, that's an important battle. But again, tariffs, this unilateral right to tariffs, is an important battle. What this guy is doing to bankrupt farmers and ranchers, what this guy is doing via Doge to fire people with get a Friday note that on Monday you will have no health care, no job, whatever, when you work for the government. These are all important fights too. And they're fights that resonate with a larger percent of the population. That's what politics is. You need to win the most votes. So you fight those fights. It doesn't mean that you don't defend. I mean, again, the infamous, it's not infamously, that's the wrong word, but maybe famously, whatever. Andy Bashir stood up in Kentucky and voted against a trans ban. And he did it by saying, my belief in Christianity, my belief, in the Bible, again, not the way I would put it, but he's a different guy, tells me that all children are created equal. Why would you attack some?
Right.
And he did it, and he won re-election. It was during the re-election campaign. The Republicans were like, oh, so he did that. But you know what he also did after saying that? He shifted it back to an economic argument where he knew he could win, folks. So I'm just saying, it doesn't mean you hide from these things and don't stand up for what you believe in. But we have a lot of choice. It's like when I've gone after the New York Times and certain newspapers for, when they're like, whoa, we covered Trump. It's like, and you say, no, it's the context. You covered Biden's age 47 times and mentioned Trump and this maybe 3 times, right? It's the context of it. And it's the same thing here. You believe in you can say, this trans ruling is ridiculous and blah, blah, blah. But the context of this is you fight more often than on the issues, and you message them more often, much more often, the ones you're going to win on. And I want to show you before you leave, because this is sort of the beginning to the Marjorie Taylor Greene part.
Yeah.
And why I think she just attacked Trump, but then claims she didn't because she's too scared to come out and do it. But she, as dumb as she is, can see what's happening with the Republican base. Okay. And here we are. Let's see. Cliff, can you do it right?
Maybe.
Of course I can't. Come on, mofo. But what it comes down to is, let's see, 1 second. Okay, saved. If you don't do work this time, I'm going to kick you in the nuts. Why? What did I do to deserve this in life? Actually, okay, wait. 1 more second, Tony, because I know what I'm doing here.
Oh, okay.
I just thought of something because I'm just that kind of guy. And I don't care if it looks bad, how I saved it. Okay, if it doesn't work this time, then I will give up and
You got it.
And I will probably commit some form of harry-carry. Let's see. Okay. Image file. Come on, work with me.
Pull it up on screen.
That's what I'm doing, baby. I mean, trying to. Oh my God, I did it. All right. So this was that poll we've talked about before, I think, where Trump was at 39%. But here's the part. This would be the part right here that little MTG, the cave woman, is scared of. White people without a college degree, Trump has seen a decline of 10 points. That, for them, is a disaster.
And that's because of the tariff. That's because of the trade war. It has nothing to do with them.
But she won't say some of that, but her big thing, which I'll read to people, and again, it was clearly attacking Trump. Because it was about war and what we've done with Ukraine, a minerals deal. Well, Donald Trump made that minerals deal. These other things. She's like, Congress is not doing their job. In other words, she attacked all the things Trump did and then tried to make it was Congress because she's scared of Trump. But in the end, actually, she was attacking Trump. And so that is just important to know when we're talking about all of these issues, is that this is how badly this is how badly they're doing. Is they're not just cratering in polls; they're creating literally among their key, core demographic.
Right.
And I mean, losing 10% among that group, that is bad for them. And that is why she's doing what she's doing, because she, at least, I guess, can see the writing on the wall, which is they're going to get destroyed if that trend continues.
Well, I think that trend is going to continue, and that's why I say we have to keep that trend continuing. And the way to keep that trend continuing is keep our message on point. And let me tell you, Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to win back those people by talking about other people's genitalia. But when we talk about taxes and we talk about taxation without representation is tyranny, people will understand that. People will feel that. They don't know transgender people. Well, they may know them, but they don't know that they are. And the transgender people do not affect them in any personal way, but the tariffs are going to. Empty shelves are going to. The access to less goods and less money is going to affect them. And if we message around that clearly and easily for them to understand, they will leave him. They will.
Yeah, when they had the luxury, as they did, of Joe Biden's economy. This again brings me back to the message that I feel like maybe I should open and close every show with, because that we don't repeat this, literally all day, every day, drives me nuts. But excuse me, George W. Bush, Bill Clinton. I'm sorry, let me try that again. George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Biden. I can't even get this goddamn shit right. Okay, let's try this again. Ready? Let's see if Cliff's brain is working. George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, and I got it wrong, Obama, Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Donald Trump. 3 Republicans and 3 Democrats among all of that idiocy that you could hear there. Apparently, I need my Wheaties. 3 Republican presidents, 3 Democratic presidents. Okay. 51 million jobs created. They want to guess how many of the 51 million were created by Democrats? It's absurd, by the way, the number.
Go ahead.
50 million of the 51 million were created by Democrats, and we don't fucking talk about it. Every time we come in and we clean up their economic mess and we give people amazing prosperity, and every time they come in and want to cut taxes for rich people and want to cut, but they added on top of it this time also cutting jobs and doing all sorts of other insane things, and they fuck the whole thing up, and we don't repeat that every day.
Yeah, but Cliff, they were eating the dogs and they were eating the cats.
I think, first of all, yes, of course. I mean, dog and cat are very tasty. I kid. I have many cats. You guys know that. Anybody tries to eat a dog or a cat, that's one of the circumstances under which I would kill a human. But again, they'll say all of that kind of stuff, and Jewish lasers, and like I won the election in 2020, and whatever the hell they want to say. But I'm just saying, if you had that burnt into people's minds the way it should be, it would be amazing, because that's a hard thing to fight. I mean, Trump had a net loss of jobs. I believe George W. Bush either had a net loss of jobs or maybe brought in, 2 million, 1 million. I mean, whatever it is, they only brought in 1 million jobs. So can't be much. I mean, it's insane, like, to make that comparison. And it's very fair. 3 presidents, right? And this is how they've done. So we should have that everywhere. And we probably would win more races, because we can easily point out that their economic policies are jokes, and it's the definition of insanity. We do it again and again. They get elected, they fuck everything up, and then we come in and we clean it up, and we build broader prosperity and help the middle class and working folks in any way that we can. They prevent some of them, they get filibustered, and that would lead us to the conversation about how we didn't get tough enough on these stupid so-called norms and get rid of the filibuster. But that's a different conversation, because then our record would be even better, and they wouldn't be able to get away with lying. So the point is here, people are going to feel it. And when you have the luxury of an amazing Joe Biden economy that the media doesn't tell you enough because corporate media sucks is an amazing economy, best job creating economy in something like 50 years at that time, highest stock market ever, and that kind of thing. When you've got that, you can have the luxury of like, I don't like them trans people and them Jews, and I don't like them Polacks from the Ozarks, and you can get away with that. But it's a lot harder to vote on that when you are suffering in your household because you have lost your job, you lost your health care, your 401k is gone, your farm's gone bankrupt, tariffs have made it so eggs cost $427 a carton, that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's how it goes. I'm going to have to head out, Cliff. I want to say before I go, if I can, give a shameless plug. Since we're on Substack, right?
We are.
Oh, great.
They were saying that the chat, for some reason, I RTMP'd over there, and a few folks like Jim said the chat, it was not working over there. Like they could watch it.
Yeah,
it's glitchy.
Problem. It's glitchy. Substack is.
But they are watching us over at the great Substack.
New. They're like newborns. They're not even toddlers yet, so they're still trying to figure this stuff out. But if you're on Substack right now, or if you want to join on Substack, I actually just went into the new bestsellers top 50. That's right, the new bestsellers top 50. I broke that. So follow me. I guess that's worth something. If you're going to pick,
I would think it'd be worth many things, but who am I?
Go to Substack and go to thetonymichaels.com. You'll find the Substack there. It's called the Kaufman Chronicle, and follow me there. And subscribe.
Remember, folks, I will say before Tony leaves one more time, I've been in this crazy effed up business. Why did I say effed up when I've cursed so many times? Who knows? I've been in this crazy business for so long, on both the consultant side initially and on the media side, and a little back and forth in the older days. I've never met anybody that works harder than Tony, and I'm not even sure I've met anybody that even works as hard as Tony. So when there's people out there fighting the good fight for you, you should probably support them. And Tony's one of those. So make your decision as you will, but you'd be sad if Tony's voice were gone tomorrow, and we all would be less for it. Our movement, our fight, whatever you want to call it, would be less without Tony by a decent amount. So,
well, thank you for the kind words, and go to thetonymichaels.com and support me there. Thank you, Cliff. Thank you, audience. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Take care, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. So we got a little more time to talk about some things. I've got about another 15, 20 minutes. I was going to give you all the actual quotes from Marge the Taylor Greene, although I'm not sure if we all want to really read all of these fully, because they may, if you've eaten lunch recently or you have an upchuck reflex, don't worry, I won't show a picture of her. But we'll give you this one first and see if it's worthy, of showing any others afterwards. So she sent out this tweet, and it was in this tweet where she gave her opposition and anger and all of this. No, it's not you, Donald Trump. And, it was, because he did all the things or was planning to do the things she said in there. But she doesn't have the courage to do that because she's a clown. And that is just the way she's always going to be. There we are. So Marge 1. Let's see if that works. Hey, look, it's Marge 1. So you guys can all see that, I assume. I represent the base, and when I'm frustrated and upset over the direction of things, you better be clear. Should I do it in her accent? I represent the base, and when I'm frustrated and upset over the direction of things, you better be clear. The base is not happy. I campaign for no more foreign wars. Of course, I support Donald Trump, who wants to start foreign wars by going into Greenland and Panama and Canada. That was my own digression. And now we're supposedly on the verge of going to war with Iran. We're always on the verge of going to war with Iran when the Republicans are in power. And that's, again, because Donald Trump rescinded an Obama agreement with Iran. Iran are awful, vicious murderers, and I'm not defending them in any way. But there are lots of awful people, and we don't go to war with all of them because not going to war tends to be better. So that's Donald Trump's fault, that we're any closer to war with Iran. And Bibi Netanyahu has certainly helped that along a lot. And now we're supposedly, I don't think we should be bombing foreign countries on behalf of other foreign countries, especially when they have their own nuclear weapons and massive military strength. Here, of course, she refers to her real owner, Vladimir Putin. We shouldn't be doing anything to help Ukraine, as if any bombing that's going on, any bombs we're giving them, we're not bombing them. We're giving it these missiles and stuff to Ukraine. But, well, let's leave the nuance out. She thinks there's Jewish missiles, so I'm sure she thinks those are helping Ukraine too. But in the end, by doing that is how you prevent future wars. I know that's a lot of thinking in the future for a single-celled organism like Marge. But the thing is when you let a tyrant win somewhere like Ukraine, they don't tend to stop in Ukraine. That's what history tells you. On top of that, now I told we signed a deal for mineral rights in Ukraine in order to pay us back for the hundreds of billions of dollars that we gave Ukraine, blah, blah, blah. She'll vote with Republicans in the House, of course, to massively raise the defense budget. So she's full of crap. There's all sorts of other people that Trump makes money off of. You don't hear her mentioning, let's say Saudi Arabia or somebody. The bone saw folks. She didn't seem to care when they murdered an American resident. I don't believe he was a citizen, but he was an American Khashoggi. I think I'm mispronouncing the name, but he was an American resident. She was okay with that. She's also okay with American resident being kidnapped and sent to a jail in El Salvador, really a concentration camp without any due process. That's all okay. But God forbid you defend Ukraine by giving them weaponry against Russia. That is bad. And the minerals and that kind of thing. I mean, hopefully it's not an extortion deal from Trump, which I could bet it could be for any help for Zelensky. But you make deals with people all the time because if you can, it's better for your country. Wasn't Trump going to be the deal a day guy? Maybe this mineral deal is the only deal he's actually made so far. And on top of that, now we are told we have signed a deal for. Nope. See, I keep starting in the wrong place. Didn't we learn our lesson? We went to war in Iraq and killed Saddam Hussein because of weapons of mass destruction. I don't know. Did you learn your lesson? Because it was your entire fucking party that led the way. And yes, some scared Democrats voted with you, or some were fooled by the lies about weapons of mass destruction and decided to say, we need to go in. But they believed in the good faith of George W. Bush's administration, and they were wrong, that they actually would enforce a regime of where the UN would go in and they give the inspectors time to look for weapons of mass destruction instead of just pretty much attacking immediately. So Democrats were lied to, and some Democrats were just bad. I'm not going to defend them all. Joe Lieberman was just awful. But at the same time, it was Marge's party that led the charge. It was Marge's party that ran ads against veterans like Max Cleland and called them traitors who didn't want to go and fight and send our folks to fight in Iraq. So maybe get your own house in order first, Marge. Kind of like the same sort of thing with your marriage. Maybe before you criticize other people, being the one who left your husband for the gym rat and then left the gym rat for the fake news reporter. Maybe you shouldn't sort of speak about family values. Just a thought. Where are we? And did any of that oil in the Middle East make us rich? Well, it wasn't supposed to because that's stealing. You see, that's a war crime. You can't just steal other people's stuff. I know it's tough for you, Marge, because I'm sure you've done plenty of it. I mean, when it's Palantir, you just magically know that the stock's going to go up and you're able to invest in it. And you are, in some sense, stealing other people's money because they didn't know. Somebody's losing money in that equation who didn't know what you knew, but you're okay with stealing their money. Didn't we learn our to be fun? Yeah. Okay, so why on earth would we go and occupy Ukraine? We're not occupying Ukraine, you schmuck. Stop lying. I know it's like breathing for you, right? Or having 3 toes, but that's not what we're doing. And the truth of the matter is, if Russia didn't have nuclear weapons, we would be in a different situation where I believe this would be World War III. And we would have to go in, and so would Western Europe, and we would have to defend the territorial integrity of Ukraine because we would know that Russia has invaded Poland, I don't know how many times over the past 3-4 centuries. It's a lot. They'd be going other places next. I know those are really difficult concepts for you to understand. There we have Chris Doug with, and MTG still did not pay back $3 million in PPP loans, right? It's always okay when it's her. She is the definition of the Republican hypocrite. Do you guys want me to read more of that, or should we just sort of accept that Marge is an idiot that was attacking? You know what? We'll skip the second one and we'll go to the third one because that's the one where she refers to herself in the third person, which, she definitely gets to do because she's so impressive. She chased around David Hogue right after the mass shooting and screamed and yelled at him. And she kicked a young woman asking her questions in the back of the leg while she was doing it. I mean, yeah, she definitely is just a bastion of moral fortitude. Okay, let's see if we can get this one to work. Cool. And then we will probably be done on that. And then maybe anything else that should come up. All right, Marge, where are you? Early on, I was one of the only ones that took a loud screaming stand. She needs to work on her English. You awkward phrasing there, Marge. A loud screaming stand is the evil transgender assault against our children on the evil. You are just a dumb fucking dummy. Most normal people in this country can't even comprehend how it's allowed to happen to kids by law. I'm not going to even go through that. This is stupid. And look at the extreme nature of our rogue judicial system. Okay, so she's attacking judges too. By the way, Marge, when you're sort of, not in favor of wars against other countries, you don't want that. The ones we tend to fight wars with are the ones that don't have independent judiciaries, do not have independent laws that protect individuals, like the trans rights you're attacking, because you see they're dictatorships, and that's what you want here, because your pal Putin would be happy. Block the deportation of literal enemies of the United States of America. Prove it in fucking court, Marge. You're an enemy of the United States of America. Why don't we kick your ass out of here right now? All right? We'd have fewer minotaurs in the country if you were gone. And yeah, I saw somebody say something about Ossoff in there. Oh God, I hope she runs. It's not official yet, but she's talked about running for that Senate seat. That would be a gift, truly a gift. And what is this? What about election integrity? Right. Why don't we lie more about the 2020 election and disenfranchise more people that don't look like me, which actually makes us all happy, because looking like Marjorie Taylor Greene is a curse. Without secure elections, blah, blah, blah. Here's my favorite part. When you are losing MTG, you are losing the base. Yeah, she's talking about herself in the third person. And Trump isn't on the ballot in the future. So do the math on that. Okay, everything in there is based on that poll I showed you earlier. She knows they're losing the base. She knows that not because of the reasons she said. She has to try to misdirect against warmongers like neocons who supposedly control the Republican Party, who, as you know, do not anymore. The what? Couple people, Don Bacon, Mike Turner. I mean, I could count the representatives in the House on maybe two hands who have stood up against the pro-Kremlin Republican Party and been willing to vote and aid and support Ukraine. So I'm not sure who the hell she's talking about. She's lying, because that's all she does, as we've said. But no, not what you're saying it is. And then, of course, their bullshit election integrity, which, again, funny how when the Supreme Court passed that Shelby case, was in 2011 or whatever. It's amazing how Republicans found a way to win the popular vote this time and everything else. Well, yeah, when you can take over states like Ohio and Florida and Iowa and Texas and Georgia with your own secretaries of state, states that, by the way, used to be swing states or would be at this point, and you can purge a combined couple million Democrats with BS methods, because we don't have the Voting Rights Act anymore, or we don't have the update on pre-clearance, so that we can make sure that in numerous locales where they're infamous for this, they're not doing this. And really, at this point, it should be national. Everybody should need pre-clearance to submit various maps, show what they're doing with voters. In any case, the point here is everything in there that she's attacking either is something that nobody is doing anything about and she's misdirecting people, or it's stuff that Trump actively supports. Trump wants a war with Iran. Trump wanted this mineral deal with Ukraine. No, he doesn't want to give them weapons and stuff. So, okay, fair there, but wanted that. She's attacking Trump, and she's trying to misdirect because, as Tony was saying earlier, it's the tariffs that are destroying people with the price of goods here, because this guy's an idiot and can't admit that he's an idiot and that he loses on all of these battles, and other countries take retaliatory action. And then even when he removes our tariffs, damage has been done. It's this idiot who brought in a perhaps even bigger idiot in Elon Musk, who has no idea how government works, to just fire people. Nobody important. People at the FAA, people watching Ebola, nuclear, people watching the nukes, cancer researchers, among many, many other people who they fired and were part of the Republican base and no longer have a job because they thought when people like Trump and Marge talked about firing government workers in their heads, they pictured black people and Latino people in DC. They didn't stop to think about, oh, wait, my sister works at the post office in, Coeur d'Alene, or my husband, happens to work for the parks department in, Portland or whatever the hell it is, right? Yeah, there are federal jobs all around the country. One of the bigger IRS offices in the country is right here in Cincinnati. Like, they somehow thought it wasn't going to hit them, even though they had government jobs, or their spouses did, or their kids did, or their siblings did, whatever. Yeah, it did. And then it took the stock market down, and you had money in your 401k, and that was destroyed too. That's what they're pissed about, Marge. But it's not that they're not sitting there worrying we're going to go to war with Iran. That's not why Trump's numbers are going down. You're not sitting there saying, wow, we have a mineral deal with Ukraine. That son of a bitch. And suddenly, most of them don't even know there's a mineral deal. Or what Ukraine is, probably. So, yeah, try as you will. What you did there is A, you lied and misdirected, and B, you attacked Donald Trump. That's what you did. Thank you. I think we can use that in some ads coming up. But that's what you did. So I appreciate that. Yes, they never thought the leopards would eat their faces, Jim. You are correct. Isn't it always that way? I don't understand why a lot of these people need to learn again and again. I mean, when I gave that jobs figure before, even if they didn't have some imbecilic loser who can't sort of interact with any humans, only machines. So he wants us to all be machines, like Elon Musk. And I think that this is being streamed to Twitter. So hi, Elon. I hope you're somehow hearing this. Even if when Republicans didn't do that, they always were about cutting the size of government. They always were about attacking government, which led inevitably, even if they didn't have a plan to cut jobs, to certain jobs being eliminated because government didn't function right. They've had that proposal on the table. Hell, I saw somebody there mention Newt Gingrich earlier, who, yes, did leave his wife when she had cancer because he's a horrible clown and he's Trump 1.0. But he brought up to get rid of the Department of Education back in what? The 1990s. You know who was with him in that, by the way, who also supported that? Joe Scarborough. So you either believe Joe's changed since then, or you believe that maybe what you saw right after the election is who the guy really is. I'll leave that up to you. They're just refloating policies that they have more people in power who support now. But they've been pushing for this agenda for a long time. And if you get rid of the Department of Education, gee, I can't do the math on that. I don't know. How many people do you fire? Let's see. How many employees are there at the Department of Education? Let's see. I'm sure they would move on to other departments after that. Are there at the Department of Education? 4,400, looks like. Budget of $68 billion. So there you go. Right, if you were to get rid of that, you right away would just pink slip 4,400 people like that. That's helpful. So that's where we are, my friends. But we can take a positive from the fact that Marge and Trump. Trump. Obviously, we know how thin-skinned he is. He's going to know this was an attack on him. She did this, by the way, first before she tweeted it out on Steve Bannon's show. I remember Steve Bannon, somebody who was in with Trump and then not in with him anymore. And then, Trump gets pissed at him too, like he does at everybody. So, and the Trump people have criticized MTG before. Like they've leaked stuff that has ripped her apart. Maybe she's too stupid to know that Trump is doing that and undercutting her when he knows it will benefit him on something, when she has gotten particularly crazy. Now here she's right where the base is. Oh my God, you didn't really just say this, did you? Well, now I have to share something with you because I have something else that I wasn't sure I was going to share, but now I'm sure I'm going to share it. You're going to love the three folks in this conversation. All right. One more thing to show you guys. Oh, it's fun, isn't it? It's so much fun to pretend and such. Well, look at that. No way. This was, by the way, Cenk responding to that long tirade I showed you. So yeah, no more wars, and we definitely trust the Republicans on that because they've only been bombing the hell out of Yemen and probably numerous other places we don't know about, and they're only talking about literally going into Gaza and leveling the entire place and making it Mar-a-Lago 2 electric boogaloo. Yeah, these are definitely the anti-war people. I mean, this is just perfection, right? Below this, Sean, what's his face, that other grifter from the left. Sean King, that's it, jumped in and said, I agree with this. And it was perfect. It's like, yeah, Cenk, Marge, and Sean. What a threesome. They can go play golf together. Unbelievable. So very good job, atrocious at every game for almost predicting. I was going to put that in there, and I think I was forgetting. But you reminded me. So yes, Cenk does think she's a populist now, and she must really be anti-war. You can tell, just like Glenn Greenwald knew that Trump was. TYT is hopeless. It's there's some offshoots of TYT, some other things they've created where there are still some good people, but those two themselves, Cenk and Anna, have lost the plot, if not much more. Yes, it is. Yeah, I did just say that. They did bomb Yemen. So listen, that's about, I think, all we have for today's broadcast. I often do my thing on the way out where, I do my Jerry Maguire, who's coming with me. This time I think I'll say, here you've got my Substack. You could go and you could become a regular subscriber, or for all the additional content, a paid subscriber. Get everything, have access to it all. It is not what you would call crazy expensive. $60 for a year. That's $1.50 a week. What do you spend $1.50 on a week? I bet all sorts of stuff that's probably a little less, hopefully, valuable than what I'm doing here. So please consider that. If there are any folks out there who want to support with a 99-cent super sticker or super chat, as I've told you before, I always like to walk out the door on a high note, on a positive note. So I'm not going to sit here and do I have to? Who's coming with me? Do I have to take the goldfish? Do we have any super chat, super stickers, anything like that we can add to the fun on the way out the door? I will ask you and say, remember, this takes a lot of work. So please support with super chats, support with super stickers, become a Substack subscriber, become a Patreon subscriber. Sheldon Hughes and Lefty Gramps, I did not doubt either of you for a second. You guys, you two and Jim and Mike McAndrews when he's here, you're my four horsemen of the non-apocalypse. Let me put it that way. I really appreciate your guys' support. Let's just go through here quickly. Of course, Sheldon Hughes also gifted a Cliff's Edge membership at YouTube because you're the man, Sheldon. WW, a member for 6 months. Great to have you. You're awesome. Thank you for that. Lefty Gramps, super sticker for $3. And Lefty Gramps is also a member. I think Sheldon Hughes also paid members at Substack. They get all the good stuff, can tell you how awesome it is. Sheldon Hughes again, $2 super chat. Thank you. And hey, we got another great one from a sparkler. That makes me very happy. The sparklers are some great folks. El Stinko Farce, which I believe means a stinky farce. Seriously, from a sparkler, thank you for all you do, Cliff. It is my pleasure. It really is, honestly. I love doing this. I've said before, I wish I could do it more. And every time someone like you is kind enough to support me like that, makes it a little easier for me to continue to do these kinds of things. So I think that is it. Sheldon is heading out. I mean, if Sheldon's heading out, then I think that's it. Oh, Chris Doug with $1.99. Thank you, Chris Doug. I appreciate it. Every bit helps, as I've said, as El Stinko first said here, every little bit. We're all in this together. We are. I'm going to be launching a new project soon that I think is going to help a lot of folks. And I don't want to talk too much about it right now, but I think you're going to like it. I think you're going to appreciate it. And I think it's going to really help our side is what my hope is. E.T. Wow. With Babbitt family getting 30 million. Right. See, I'm not getting 30 million because I didn't commit treason and try to break in and kill people at the Capitol and end up being shot myself for breaking the law. No, not for being an innocent black man on the streets of Minneapolis or New York City or whatever, but for actually being a crazy white lady who was breaking the law. She's going to be given our taxpayer dollars. It's obscene, is what it is. There you go. I support independent journalism, and that will be a big part of this project that I'm working on that I want to launch, and I'm excited about because independent journalists, we need the support, and you guys today have all shown me that that you do support me, and I really appreciate it by being here, by signing up for the free services, by chatting, by commenting, by liking, by whatever, signing up for the non-free, the paid subscriber services. You're also incredibly helpful. And so I just wanted to thank you all for that. I believe we have reached that point, my friends. Thank you to all of you. You get me back tomorrow. We'll do it live again tomorrow. And then should have David Schuster here tomorrow again. Brilliant Emmy Award winner, as you all know, used to be on MSNBC and other places. I've got another guest maybe tomorrow, a very smart guy about politics and music. I need to reach out to him. And then Thursday, we'll be doing my show over at the Substack place only, because that's the rules of that day with that show. And guess what? For any sparklers still in there, Hal Sparks will be one of our guests. We may have a second guest, but Hal will definitely be there. So put it on the schedule. Thursday at Substack, 2 p.m. Eastern. You can be a free subscriber and you just can be there and you'll catch it. But I'll make sure it's promoted everywhere. Tony Phillips, I think these are good ones to leave on. Thanks, Cliff. Laters, my friend. I do like your music, perhaps. Great show. Thank you, Tony. Tina Bradford with the thank you. All right. So, folks, I believe we are done. And another edition of our little show here. So have yourself a great evening. Take care. Keep fighting the fight. Hopefully I'll see you here tomorrow, or I'll see you on Substack. And as I say, as the sun sets slowly in the west, my friends, I bid you a fond farewell. Uh-oh. Need to end that stream.